78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Not the unemployed, not the homeless, people with jobs, people with degrees, people making six figures. And here's the part that should actually scare you. It's not because they're bad with money, it's because they're making the exact same 10 mistakes in the exact same order that the system was quietly built to reward. I'm going to walk you through all 10. And I promise you, by mistake number 4, you're going to feel a little exposed. Stick around for number 1. It's the mistake almost nobody thinks is a mistake at all. I'm not here to tell you to skip your morning coffee. That advice is a joke, and honestly, it's a distraction from the real problems. What I am going to show you are the structural mistakes, the ones baked into how most people think about money, that quietly keep millions of hard-working Americans broke for decades. No fluff, no just budget better. Real patterns, backed by real numbers. Let's start with the one that feels the most harmless. Mistake number 10, lifestyle inflation. You get a raise. $8,000 more a year. Great, you deserve it. Within 2 months, you've upgraded your apartment, leased a slightly nicer car, started ordering takeout twice a week instead of once. Your income went up 12%. Your savings rate went up 0. This is lifestyle inflation, and it is the quiet killer of American wealth because it's invisible. Nobody warns you about it because on the surface, everything looks like progress. You're earning more, you're living better, but your net worth, the number that actually determines your freedom, hasn't moved an inch. The average American who gets a raise increases their spending by roughly 70 to 80 cents of every extra dollar earned. That means for every raise you get, you're keeping less than a quarter of it. And that adds up to something brutal over 10 years. But I'll show you exactly how brutal when we get to mistake number 6. Mistake number 9, no emergency fund. Here's a number that should genuinely disturb you. Nearly 4 in 10 Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. A car repair, a dental emergency, a broken water heater. One of these will happen to you this year. Statistically, almost guaranteed. And for people without a cushion, that single event doesn't just cost money. It cascades. You put it on a credit card at 24% interest. That debt sits there for months. The interest compounds. Suddenly, a $400 emergency has cost you $650. This is how one bad week turns into 2 bad years. The people who avoid this aren't smarter. They just built a wall before the storm hit. Usually just 3 to 6 months of basic expenses sitting somewhere boring, untouched, unglamorous. It's not exciting. That's exactly why most people skip it. Mistake number 8, saving instead of investing. This one's uncomfortable because it sounds responsible. You save diligently. You never touch it. You feel proud every time you check the balance. But if that money is sitting in a regular savings account earning 0.5%, while inflation eats away 3 to 4% a year, you're not saving.
You're losing slowly in a way that doesn't show up until it's too late. Money that just sits still doesn't grow. It shrinks, quietly. The Americans who build real wealth aren't the ones who save the most. They're the ones who understood the difference between a savings account and an investment account and moved their money accordingly, even in small amounts, even when it felt scary. Mistake number 7, ignoring the employer match. I need you to sit with this one. If your employer offers a 401k match and you're not contributing enough to get the full match, you are leaving free money, guaranteed risk-free money, sitting on the table every single paycheck. Not maybe money, not risky money, a 100% instant return that nothing else in the entire financial world will ever offer you again. And yet, nearly a quarter of eligible employees don't contribute enough to capture their full match. Some don't understand it. Some think they can't afford it. But most simply, never had anyone sit them down and explain that this is, without exaggeration, the single easiest win in personal finance. Mistake number 6, financing depreciating assets. Remember that lifestyle inflation car lease from earlier? Here's the actual math nobody shows you. The average new car payment in America is now over $700 a month. Over a 5-year loan, that's more than $42,000. On an asset that loses roughly 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot, and nearly 60% within 5 years. You are paying interest on a shrinking number. Meanwhile, that same $700 a month, invested instead in an index fund averaging historical market returns, would grow into roughly $50,000 in that same 5 years. And that's just the beginning, because money left alone keeps compounding long after you stop feeding it. Same monthly amount, opposite direction. One path buys you a status symbol that's worth less every single day. The other path buys you options. Mistake number 5, carrying high-interest debt while saving. This is the mistake that feels the most responsible and does the most damage. You've got $3,000 sitting in savings, earning maybe 4% a year. Meanwhile, you're carrying $3,000 in credit card debt at 24% interest. You feel secure because you have savings, but mathematically, you are paying 20% a year just to feel that security. That's not caution. That's an invisible tax you're choosing to pay. The uncomfortable truth is that for high-interest debt, the fastest, safest, highest return available to you isn't in the stock market at all. It's paying that balance down because every dollar you put toward it is a guaranteed 20+% gain. Mistake number 4, no real budget, just vibes. Be honest with yourself for a second. Do you actually know what you spent last month? Not roughly. Exactly. Most people don't. They operate on financial vibes. I think I'm doing okay. I don't spend that much on eating out. But your bank app doesn't lie. And if you actually pulled the number, most people are stunned by how far it is from what they imagined. This isn't about restriction. It's about visibility. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. The people who feel most in control of their money aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who know, down to the dollar, where every dollar goes. Mistake number 3, buying too much house. The bank will approve you for more house than you can actually afford. That's not a conspiracy. That's just how mortgage underwriting works. Lenders calculate what you can technically pay, not what leaves you room to actually live. And so millions of Americans become what's sometimes called house poor. They own a beautiful home and have almost nothing left over for savings, investing, or emergencies, because the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and upkeep swallow nearly half their income. The house isn't the mistake. Buying at the very top of what you're approved for instead of what actually fits your life is the mistake. And it's one that takes 15 to 30 years to fully unwind. Mistake number 2, relying on a single income stream. We were raised to believe a stable job equals financial safety. But stable is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. One employer, one paycheck, one point of failure, a single layoff, a single round of downsizing, and years of careful budgeting can unravel in a month. This isn't a call to quit your job and become an entrepreneur overnight. It's a call to stop treating your income like it's guaranteed. Even a small second stream freelance work, a side skill, a small investment portfolio generating dividends, changes your entire relationship with risk. Because the moment you have 2 sources of income, losing one doesn't mean losing everything. Mistake number 1, never learning how money actually works. And here's the one nobody thinks is a mistake at all, because it's not an action. It's an absence. Most Americans graduate high school and even college without ever being taught how interest compounds, how credit scores are built, how taxes actually work, or the difference between an asset and a liability. Financial illiteracy isn't a personal failure. It's a systemic gap. And every mistake we just walked through, all 9 of them, all trace back to this single root. Nobody sat you down and explained the rules of the game you've been playing since your very first paycheck. That's not your fault. But fixing it from this point forward is your responsibility. And the good news is, it's the cheapest mistake on this list to correct. It just takes deciding today that you're done playing a game you were never taught the rules to. So let's bring it all together. Lifestyle inflation quietly erasing your raises. No emergency fund turning small crises into years-long debt. Saving instead of investing while inflation eats your money alive. Leaving free 401k money on the table. Financing a depreciating car instead of building an appreciating future. Carrying high-interest debt while pretending your savings make you safe. Living on financial vibes instead of real numbers. Buying more house than your life can actually support. Betting your entire financial security on one single paycheck. And underneath all of it, never being taught the rules in the first place. None of these mistakes make you broke overnight. They make you broke slowly, quietly, over years, which is exactly why they're so dangerous. You don't feel the damage until it's already done. But now you can see the pattern. And once you can see it, you can start walking a different one. If this hit home, subscribe, because every week on this channel, we break down exactly how ordinary people build extraordinary financial clarity, one honest mistake at a time.